Scott.
All right, it's live.
And Fernando, anytime you want to say something, you can unmute if you want to keep yourself muted.
Oh, I'm already unmuted.
All right. Just because, so I can know who wants to speak.
Okay, it's live.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Orlando, you want me to keep myself muted then?
You can if you want it. When you want to speak, and just you can unmute yourself, which is fine. Just so that we can go ahead and see who wants to share and so forth, but we're good. Good morning, everyone. We're going to start in about a minute. We're going to make sure that we let everyone that registered have the ability to log in and so forth. And we'll go ahead and get started. So for those of you that have already joined us, please take the time to introduce yourselves in the chat. We want to make sure that you start building level of rapport, communication with the actual participants. Let us know who you are, what your business is, and also your industry. And we've got a great presentation for all of you today. So thank you. So, all right, so let's go ahead and get started. So on behalf of the SBDC at FIU, we welcome all of you. Just as an FYI, we are recording this, so it is going to be made available so that you can come back and look at it again, and it's going to be uploaded to our FIU Entrepreneurship YouTube channel, and you will receive a copy of the presentation. Ask questions. You can use the chat to ask questions. You can use the Q&A to ask questions. We're going to be monitoring, and we're going to be looking at the actual screen just to make sure that we answer all of your questions. We're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. So moving forward, I actually want Fernando to go ahead and introduce himself.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Fernando. I'm with the Car Clinic of Miami. We're an auto repair shop located in Miami, Florida. We have been in business for 12 years. And we started, with just myself going around to people's houses, fixing cars, and slowly built that up to basically be, a very organized business that's successful. And we employ 7 people right now.
All right. Thank you, Fernando. Scott.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Scott Tubbs. Orlando and I are business partners. He likes to tell me what to do and keep me shuttled in the back of my office. I hardly get to get online and say hi, so this is a treat for me. But Orlando entrusts me to manage basically our digital operations, if you will, and I do a lot of project management in that realm, and it's fun, and I look forward to meeting you all and sharing some good insights.
And thank you, Scott. And Karen is going to be joining us momentarily. She was actually wrapping up another webinar that she had. But I'm Orlando Espinosa with M&O Media. The focus of a lot of what we do is we design programs just like this and webinars and workshops to simplify information for business owners that tend to overthink. So today we're actually going to be talking about operations, and I'll give Karen an opportunity to introduce herself. But as you come in and you look, one of the key things that we talk about business owners, a lot of times businesses are talking about, my marketing, I need marketing. No, I need finance. I need employees. I need to hire people. But one of the key things that we always talk about, and to Fernando's point, is when you look at operations, with the production, the fulfillment, one of the key things that helps businesses simplify the overall goal of what it is that they do is by making sure that they have systems and processes in place where it simplifies what it is that they're doing. A lot of times businesses believe that just because, someone's buying something from them, that they fulfill it. They're not looking at all of the steps that it actually takes to fulfill, whether it's a product or a service. What you need to look at right now is how are you connecting with these customers to fulfill what it is that they bought from you. If it's a service, what is it that you're doing? If it's a product, how long are they getting that product into their hand? And this is one of the key things that you have to look at, that if you simplify things for people, for your current customers, it's going to be easier because you're going to have a well-oiled machine that's going to make it easier for you to come in and be more effective? If inventory comes in, what is it that you're doing by way of making sure that you've got a system in place that becomes automatic? Because once it's automatic, you bring in new employees, you already have something that is going to be easier for you when it comes to the inner workings of your business. And the goal is to make sure that your operations has a connection to what you do, but where it's more efficient for you to operate and work your business. So this is a general overview of what it is that we're going to be talking about moving forward. I don't know, Scott and Fernando, if you wanted to share anything, we can go into the first slide, but this is going to be a general overview of what we're going to be talking. And if you do, remember, just unmute yourself. So, all right. So one of the key things that we always talk to businesses to find out, what are your deliverables and the steps? So what is it that you are fulfilling? What is it that you're selling? What is it that you are giving to customers that are buying from you? Is it a product? Is it a service? So one of the things that we always encourage people to do is write down everything that you are providing that people are actually buying from you. And then once you lay that out, look at the steps that you actually are taking to come in and fulfill that. Step one, this, step two. And then once you come in and create all of those steps, look at what is it that you can actually reduce. What is it that you can actually take advantage of? So let's say for me, if I go to Fernando's business because I want my car repaired, Fernando, what is the first thing that I actually do? What's the first step that you have there that I actually need to get done before I can actually get my car serviced?
Well, the first thing would either be calling in or walking in, or it could be setting up an appointment online. So one thing that we need to understand as we build a business is that whether you realize it or not, you already have a system and a process, right? The key is, are you that system, or is it something that's already written down and can be operated by your employees? So keep in mind that your business is ran by systems, and the systems are ran by the employees. So going back to Orlando's point, let's focus on the customer journey. In our case, it will be, you give us a call, you set up an appointment online, you bring in the car, we ask you exactly what the issue is. Once we get the car checked in, there's basically a workflow process that every single car goes through. So in our case, it's addressing the customer's concern, doing a thorough vehicle inspection. We do digital inspection. So that basically means that anything we find on the vehicle, we take pictures. We send you an inspection report, either via text or email. You can then approve that on your phone or through the computer. If you have any questions, you can give us a call. Our service advisor will answer any issues, any questions that you may have. And once the work is approved, we then have a parts ordering process, right? So we have a select number of vendors that supply the different parts. We order the part from them, part comes in, there's a process to check in those parts, assign them to the technicians so they know when the parts arrived. Once the car is done, we have a quality control process in place, because whether you know it or not, we all have a QC in place, and that's either internal or external. So when you're focusing on the quality of your product, you want to make sure that any mistakes, anything that was overlooked is caught by you or your employees before the product is delivered. So that's another process that needs to be in place, your QC process, your quality control. Once the vehicle is quality controlled, we give the customer a call, they pick up, they then get a follow-up text message a couple of days later asking them about their experience. If for some reason there was some disconnect or some dissatisfaction, that follow-up text message allows us to catch that before it becomes a bigger issue, so we can fix the problem and speak to the customer about it. And after all that is done, we then have a remarketing process where we re-engage the customer in a few weeks to basically tell them thank you. If there's anything else that you need, they have ways to reach out to us. But all these things are processes that are designated to different areas in the business. So our technicians fulfill some of the steps. Our service advisor does some of the steps. The front counter assistant does some of the steps. And then presently I'm handling the marketing. So there's systems for everything. And all these systems should be documented so that you're able to separate yourself from the business and have employees take care of the business the same way that you would do it.
Yep. And I think that that's one of the things that I wanted people to understand. I don't know if people can see my phone, but these are the text messages that I get from the car clinic, just letting me know, hey, listen, don't forget that you have a tune-up. But this is where I think that as business owners, you need to understand that these policies in place that you automatically is going to help you. Because a lot of times people say, well, I need more employees. I need more employees. I need more staff. Do you need more staff, or do you need something in place that's going to make it easier for you? And this is where I believe that if you work in unity and you are unified in what it is that you're doing, it's going to make it easier. And I wanted Fernando to highlight the process that he has, because I see that what he did was something that needed to actually work the way that he thinks. And as business owners, this is why it's extremely important that you come in and start looking at your current operations and what is it that you need to do to actually, run a more smoother operation. Scott.
Yeah, I'll share two things real quick. Orlando and I purchased a supplement company last year, and uniquely, we've been able to set that up so all we do is run ads and collect payments. It is literally that easy. So we got all the fulfillment set up on the back end so that we never have to touch it, right? The only thing we do have to touch is if there's chargebacks. And if you ever had those are a nightmare. The second thing I'll share is in the digital experience, we've got it fairly automated, and we've been talking lately about hiring a project manager because it's getting to be a little bit heavy, heavy on my shoulders. But for the most part, right, when we take in a new project, we try to automate that intake process with the form. So our clients will go through and complete all of the pieces of information that we need to move to the next step. And then for us, moving to that next step is handing that off to the developer and making sure that he or she has all the information they need so that when they start pounding out on, the technology of it, they don't get a roadblock and say, oh, wait, I don't have, right? So we've tried to be very thorough up front in the development of our intake forms so that we can, go through easily. But that's about it. I think the more time you can put into the upfront of sitting down and mapping out your processes, it'll pay you big dividends in the end, because you'll find those holes and walk through it. You know what I mean? That customer journey that Fernando and Orlando mentioned is huge, right? Be a customer, right? Go through it and, be mindful of how you felt. And, if something dropped off, you didn't get an email or whatnot, those can be big pitfalls.
Yeah. And I think that that's one of the key things that we were talking. Karen, welcome. Nice to see you. I know that you were on a webinar wrapping up and so forth, but you came in just in time. I know that as we start looking at what it is that we're doing as business owners, this is why a lot of times within businesses, we look for people that we want to come in and hire, but what level of expertise do you actually need? This is where you actually have to look at what is it that you're doing within your business. To Fernando's point, it is automatic when people come in to get service done on their vehicle that their staff and his staff actually knows what goes first, second, third. And especially this is great for those of you that business owners that you're doing everything. So I don't know how many of you out there that are actually listening to us have control issues, that you have to control everything, or that you actually have to come in and be in charge of everything. And this is where it actually comes in, and you look at what it is that you do according to what we were talking about earlier about the steps that you take. This is where you actually come in and start automating the things that you actually need, because once you start getting something done, everybody knows their place. Everybody knows what they need to do, what the description is for their job specifically. And this is where sometimes in the world of technology, a lot of us need to have something in place that's going to help us scale and grow our business. Sometimes our businesses don't scale and grow because we're all over the place. Sometimes our business doesn't go to the next level because we want to control everything. And if COVID taught anything to business owners, it was that you needed to come in and put procedures in place that was going to assist and help you. And for a lot of you that actually had to send employees home and to work from home, you should have actually started building something that was virtual that assisted and helped you to ensure the success of your business. And that's one of the key things that we have to look at as business owners. What is your immediate need? Now that you've determined the steps, now that you've determined the process, by the time someone buys from you, from the moment that it gets delivered or shipped, or that you produce the actual services that you're getting paid for, this is where now you have to determine who needs to be in charge of what. And the goal is always to try and remove yourself from the equation, because in every step that we have, if it's Orlando, I am not actually giving or empowering any of our staff to move forward, then we're doing ourselves a disservice, because the goal of what I have to do is to build relationships and sell. So Karen, if you want to add anything now.
This is huge. So hi, I'm Karen. I didn't introduce myself because I jumped in late. I own a medical writing business. I've owned it for 15, going 16 years. And one of the things that I've learned in my business when it comes to operations on this point specifically is who is the right person for the job is not always who is the expert. And what do I mean by that? In my business, I'm the expert. I started the business. I'm a scientist. I have, the doctorate and whatever. I have other people in the company that are also scientists that have a doctorate or medical doctors or whatever, but they're not necessarily the right person to do every single task. Because if I'm involved in writing every piece of marketing that goes out, if I'm involved in every sales call, or we're expensive, right? We're the most expensive people in the company. We have administrative assistants, we have marketing people, we have, whatever, salespeople. Somebody else can jump in and do some of these tasks. If I create a template, if I create a checklist, if I create a process, I can hand it off to just about anybody. They don't have to have a doctorate. They don't have to be a scientist or a physician. I can hand off to somebody once they have the right personality, meaning they are the type of person that gets things done. They're good with following a process and a system. They're systematic in their approach to doing things. And they don't mind doing the same task repetitively, day after day, week after week. I can hand off marketing. I can hand off sales. I can hand off different areas of the business. Sure, I know the clients better than anybody else, but does that mean I need to be the one entering everything into QuickBooks? No, absolutely not. Why would I do that in my business? So when I started, I was everything. I was the marketing person. I was the salesperson. I was the finance person. I was the operations person, getting the work done as well. And you can't grow and scale a business being all areas of the business. So I had to first determine, where can I hire somebody and hand off? And the first thing for me was marketing, because I could create a checklist. Go here, search for this with keywords, find these projects, and then submit this proposal, for example. And then how did I move that up? Okay, sales. When the person replies, they need pricing. Here's a pricing sheet. That's like a checklist. If they ask for this, this is how to price it. I don't have to be involved in that. So can I have somebody that's making minimum wage do tasks that before it was only me doing? And can I also have somebody who's minimum wage doing tasks that my top talent, if I have doctors and whatever, their pay rate is up here. If I have a minimum wage admin person whose pay is down here, how many of the tasks can I take and give to them and make, systematic and process based, so that my top talent does only the things that they can do. I don't want them doing anything else. I don't want them doing administrative work. I don't want them, typing things into a spreadsheet and keeping track. No, that's not for that. They're to do only the genius work that they're supposed to do. That's how I run my business.
Yeah. And I think that that's one of the key things, because this is what you have to calculate also as a business owner. What is your time worth? And once you calculate what your time's worth is, then you're going to know what type of expertise that you need. And the reason why you start analyzing all of this is because I like to come in and work hard, but I play hard. And the goal is to have something in place that it's automatic, that you can take time away to go and enjoy life. Because if you're working 50, 60, 70, 100 hours a week, then you're doing something wrong, and you need to start getting and looking at your operations with what it is that you're doing. So Fernando, anything that you want to add?
Yeah, when it comes to systems, you want to first ask yourself, how do we do a certain thing? So how do we do our marketing? How is our customer journey? How is our accounting? So first you figure out the how, and then the who. Who can do these tasks? And after you figure out the who, you need to figure out a way to measure the performance in that area. So that way you're taking emotion out of it. You need to let the numbers be the boss. So I'll give you an example. I'm currently the one that's handling the marketing for the business. We have a few main sources of marketing. So we do mailers that we send out to houses. We do Google ads, we have a website, we do Facebook ads. And what I've done to track what's working and what's not, I've designated tracking phone numbers for each one of those sources. So when people call in, I'm able to quickly pull up a report online at the end of the month and see, okay, out of 1,000 calls that we got, 100 came from the mailers, 50 came from Google ads, 25 from Facebook ads, and so forth. So instead of just looking at sales, if we're having a bad month or a great month, and asking myself, is the marketing working? I'm able to come in and look at the data and see what's working, add more fuel to that, and the things that are not working, either refine them or get rid of them. And it's the same thing with your workflow, with your customer journey, right? The customer experience from beginning to end. What are the steps? What are the results that we expect? How can we set some KPIs, some measuring points, whether that's sales, closing ratio, whatever it may be for your industry. But you need to have a way to clearly define if that area is being successful or not. Not by your bank account, not by emotion, but specifically by those key performance indicators that you set up. So first focus on the how. How do we do this? Who's going to take care of this? And what are we going to measure in this area? That way you'll be able to make solid decisions based on numbers and not emotion.
Yeah. So, and I'm glad that you said that, because I think that that's one of the key things that a lot of businesses, they run through emotion, and emotion is okay, but you have to come in and be realistic with what's working and not working. I know, Scott, you were talking about, some of the things that we're looking at, by way of the projects that we're working on, specifically. Can you elaborate or share, or do you have something else that you want to highlight?
No, I'm happy. So we're adding a new business segment onto what we offer and going toward a new target audience. And so we've built a new website around that audience. And to address that, because Orlando and I are only two people and we have a full plate already, so we are looking at a VA who's going to be doing a large part of the prospecting for us. So that once we've got somebody who is now a qualified candidate to be a customer, then they'll hand them off to one of us, and then we'll continue that conversation to a close. Now, in the dream world, eventually we'll be able to hire another person or educate a VA further to do that as well. But that's just one example, right? So it's out of the gate. Now, on the back end of all that stuff, you're also automating some of our follow-up and retargeting, right? So if someone falls through our website and we never hear from them again, then we'll be remarketing them on the backside as well. And that's all automated, right? So again, that gets back to the beginning and being as thorough as you can up front and designing as much as you can in automated fashion. So yeah, I was just happy to share that. Thanks, Orlando.
Yeah, and I think that one of the key things that you also have to look at as a business owner, you need to also look at what expertise do you need, and does that expertise, need to be outsourced, because you need to actually get something done more effectively. Because as I said earlier, the goal is not to control every aspect of the business, but it's to actually work with people that know your procedures and how they can actually be more effective. So this is where a lot of us, when we come in and you look at the aspect of it that Fernando was actually talking about that as well, who's going to do what, but this is where it's consistency. For me, I like the aspect of consistency, because this is where I look at, it's very simple. If you go online and you shop, my thing is that we were so accustomed to going in and buying from Amazon. We may come in and we look at something, we want it, put it in the cart, and you know what? You have next day shipping or same day shipping now, because now they actually have times where they can say, hey, we can deliver between this time. I've had things delivered to my home by 4 a.m. in the morning. So I say that because the overall goal is that people want a level of consistency. So if you are coming in and you build a business to where you're offering free shipping, then offer free shipping. Don't come in and now change it, midway, because you're going to confuse people, because we're creatures of habit. This is where you actually have to be very clear with what it is that you're doing when it comes to your business. And when you're working with your staff, don't leave room for doubt or confusion. Well, I thought you were going to ship the product. No, I thought you were going to ship it. And this is where you actually start creating, a lackluster business, when you come in and don't focus on the aspect of that businesses want that consistency. That's why they're buying from you. And because you are actually coming in and helping your staff and your employees. So when you leave and you go on vacation, there's someone that's there that can actually run the business effectively, because you've either cross-trained them or you already have the policies and the procedures in place that all they have to do is follow everything specific, so that there isn't any type of confusion or room for doubt. Consistency is, I think, that one of the things that I've seen how a lot of businesses have actually been able to scale and grow when it comes to their operations. I don't know if anybody wants to share anything, because I'm looking at the unmute button. Karen.
Yeah, so I think what I've learned in terms of standardizing within my business, I provide services, not products. And it's a little bit harder to standardize a service than a product. A product, you're expecting, if it's manufactured correctly, you're going to get the same thing every time. It's the same ordering process. Whereas with services, we do a lot of custom services. So a client comes to us, their needs is not the same as somebody else's needs. So we're creating almost a custom service for each client. And how do we standardize that? And so we've had to do that by creating internally some checklists, some processes, some procedures, some training. And if everybody's taken the same training, they have the same documentation that says these are the do's and don'ts. And they have the same checklist before you submit something to a client, make sure you've done these things. It's the same procedure. The project manager always checks in at a certain point to see where we are. And when it's done, the editor always jumps in and edits. So it's the same process every time. I'm able to control the consistency of the services we're offering our clients. Where that goes awry, I'll be honest, is when I get involved. Us, the business owner, we mess things all up, because it just runs like clockwork when my employees are doing it. As soon as I jump in, and this is like a pet project for me, and it's one of my favorite clients, and then now I'm on the phone with them and I'm doing extra above and beyond, but they're paying the same price, I'm messing up our profit margins. So I get in trouble with my team all the time. So sometimes as business owners, we have to learn that if we've hired and we've created the processes, to step back and let the business run without us. Go on vacation, enjoy your life.
Exactly. And I think that that's one of the key things that we actually go on vacation and we are enjoying. And that's why you became a boss. And that's why you're the business owner, because if you're not taking vacation and enjoying the aspect of being an entrepreneur, then you know what, maybe you should just rethink about going and working for someone full time. I know that I can't do that because that's not how my brain functions. But I think that that's one of the key things that as a business owner, we need to take time to enjoy. That's why we are in business, to scale and grow. And that's why consistency is extremely important. And also having that mindset shift that you trust the process, you trust the employees that are working for you, the team that you're working with. And I think that that's one of the key things. So Fernando, as someone that likes to take vacation, so when you leave, do you worry about the business, or you know that the business is actually in good hands because you've actually created some level of consistency?
It's in good hands, but one thing that really helps me disconnect from the business is the fact that I have all these systems to track the business's performance without me having to be there. So I'm not there, but I'm always there with my systems, with these key performance indicators, right? It's so important. The systems for each area of your business, and then ways of measuring the results, because that's going to help you diagnose the business, right? It's like fixing a car. You hook up a computer, you get a whole bunch of data, and anything that's out of the specified range, you go to that area so you can figure out what the problem is. Same thing with these systems. Same thing with these procedures. So set up the how do we do things? Who's going to do it? And what's the expectation? How are we going to track the performance? And I keep repeating that because that's the key to you separating yourself from the business, where you can always be there without physically being there.
Yep. And I agree. And I think that that's one of the key things. And especially for those of you that still want to come in and be involved, because I think that as business owners, we don't detach 100%. We need to have certain things that we actually need to take advantage of, to Fernando's point, and make sure that you come in and say, okay, things are going smooth, things are well, I can breathe. Scott.
I was going to share something really of my past because it's really applicable here. I was previously a plant manager in a boat building company, right? And that was a new role for me. So as a plant manager, I also had to control production. And building a boat is a very involved process, right? And my first days there, I was overwhelmed with this area does this, and then it goes over here and they do that, right? And this wasn't documented in no way, shape, or form. And I'm prior military, and in the military, everything is documented, right? You don't do anything without a book in hand and reading step by step what you're supposed to do. That's the way the military is. That's how they control consistency, right? And quality and safety and all the above. So my nature was to get out a Gantt chart, and I created a nice process, right? And I knew everything. But the hard part is getting the buy-in from the employees and the people who had to do those processes, right? Because they saw me documenting everything, and all they saw was red flags, micromanagement, I'm going to get fired, right? So tactfully, what I did is I interviewed everybody, right? So I'm like, okay, what do we do here? How long does it take? And I let them tell me how long it takes. So then once we had a big picture, then I could control it and say, well, it's really taking them too long. Why is it taking him so long when they do about the same thing in this department, right? So then I could start, but I had something to go by, right? Then I had a measurement stick by which I could go by and say, wow, all right, how do we get better? How do we save money here? How do we save time? You know, all those things come in as a factor. But until I created this big Gantt chart of my own, I had no way to really manage it to make it better, cleaner, you know, more manageable. So I just share that just as a process. It worked for us. And the result was it was taking us about 16 weeks to build a boat, and we got it down to 8. And we could build it profitably, right? So, and we're just throwing money out the window in the beginning, and then we were making money in the end. But it took about a good 6 months for us to get that under control. So you might be better, your projects might be different, but I'll just share that just as a case in point.
Yeah, and I think that's the key word. Where are you losing money if you don't know your processes? Because maybe that's why you're not profitable at this moment, because your operations isn't working as effectively as it actually should. So this is where we always sit back and we tell people, don't overthink it, don't overcomplicate it, and just improve everything one step at a time. Do it in phases. It can get overwhelming because you still have to sell, you still have to come in, and you still have to do certain things to ensure the operations of your business. But this is where you actually have to come in and look at, to Scott's point, when he came in, he had to come in and look at every step and compare. Well, why are we having success in this department, and in this department we're not? What's going on? What's happening? The one thing is that you have to be mindful and come in and know everything that's automatic. I actually have a good friend that within his business, he came in and he was overwhelmed with everything that they were doing, but he took it really simple, and he actually started looking at the things that he was doing, because it was too overwhelming for them. Why was it overwhelming? Because they were trying to do too much, and they still had a business to run. So this is where you have to look at what are the things that you have to do moving forward. Okay, let me put this in. Let me try something different. Maybe it's coming in and looking at your supplier, or maybe someone that's actually producing product for you. This is where you come in and look at and say, I have been using this, because we are talking about consistency in the prior slide, but we need to make sure that consistency, you understand you have to be consistently good. So if you have a supplier that's charging you more money, okay, and you need to come in and say, well, let me review this, because I can actually cut costs by way of XYZ. And you can't have that mindset that says, but we've been doing it like this forever. Well, guess what? Forever doesn't exist. Okay. And this is where you have to be very mindful that if you want to run a company and have a smooth running company, just come in and look at every step that we talked about earlier. And now this is where you're going to come in and say, okay, these are the 3 steps that I need to improve, or not improve, but maybe eliminate, in order for my processes to actually be more effective and my operations to actually run smoother. Karen.
Yeah, I think what happens for me, at least, I'm what you call a quick start. If you take a Kolbe personality test, as I learn things, I want to implement them. So I'm the type of person, I would be watching this webinar and I would actually be working on, writing out my processes and my checklist and who am I going to delegate what to. By the time the webinar is done, I've actually implemented what I've learned. Now, that's not possible sometimes when you're learning so many things. And so you got to pick just one thing. So with this, what we're telling you is looking at, what are all the different steps it takes to fulfill orders, right? There's a lot of steps, and there's a lot of places for improvement. There's a lot of places to document the process. Like Scott was just saying, the process of manufacturing a boat has a lot of steps, and there might be one that is the bottleneck, and he might jump into that plan and say, this is what we need to improve, right? We need to make this step go faster. How do we improve that? Maybe we don't need the expert to do it. We can have 2 minimum wage people that get it done faster if we show them how to do it. But you just want to improve that one thing. Next month, next year, whenever, next quarter, you can move on to something else, because my challenge always was, I want to implement everything I've learned all at once, and it doesn't work. One thing at a time, change one thing at a time. So I had a really good sales trainer tell me once, you are trying to overhaul the engine on a race car while it's in a race. He's like, you can't do that. When you pull in the pit stop, you do one thing, change the tires, fill up the gas, whatever. You just That's it. And you back out. You keep running because your business is running. So you can't overhaul the entire business while working. Okay. It doesn't work. Your employees will hate you if you try to do it. So pick one step, one thing. What are you going to improve? Put it in the chat. Let us know if we can support you. What's the one thing that you've learned here that you need to jump in and change and fix and improve in your business? That one step is all we want you to focus on the next 1 to 3 months and get that going smoother, better. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're looking for better improvements. And then once you have that better, faster, cheaper, awesome, Carlos, delegating. Yes, you don't have to be at the job site. KPIs, Jude, yes. So yes, go ahead, pick that one thing, commit to it, put it in the chat so that we're all holding you accountable to it, and just work on that one thing. And then come to the next thing and the next thing.
Yep. And I agree. And I think that this is where you actually come in and realize if you hired someone to do the job, then why are you doing the job for them? Okay. And this is where you actually have to be very specific with the simple things and entrust people to come in and get feedback, because sometimes employees that have been doing the job can come in and tell you, hey, listen, if we come in and do X, Y, Z, we can actually simplify it. So make sure that you actually get feedback as well. Fernando. I laughed because when I was looking at your face when Karen was talking about the engine, I'm like, oh, that's right up, what Fernando's out.
Going back to what Karen said, when it comes to change, you don't want to reinvent the wheel. It's like building a house. You lay one brick at a time, right? So I found that whenever I want to make too many changes at once, I get a lot of pushback from my employees. But if we focus on just one thing, and I have a conversation with each one of my employees and explain to them how making this change is going to affect them in a positive way, I get a lot more buy-in, by doing it like that. And one thing that I tell my guys whenever we hit a plateau, if nothing changes, nothing changes. We're going to be in the same place now, in the same place 6 months from now that we are in now. What got us here isn't what's going to get us there. So in order for us to grow, in order for me to pay you more, we have to implement this change. And this is what I expect from you going forward. And once you set the expectation, you get an agreement. Can I count on you to do X, Y, and Z? Right? So that's very helpful. Right now, we're going through a major restructuring phase at our business because we have hit a plateau the last few months. So I've been, analyzing my marketing systems, our workflow system. I actually let an employee go on Monday that wasn't performing to what we had agreed on. And sometimes you have to make these choices, so systems, it's something that's always evolving. As the business grows, things are going to change. But for you to get buy-in, it's extremely, extremely important that you sit down with your employees. And number one, you find out what their goals are, short-term and long-term. And you tie in how making these changes are going to help them get there. Because if not, in their mind, it's, why am I going to do all these changes? How is it going to help me? As humans, we tend to always think, what's in it for me?
Yep.
So anytime that you're trying to make changes with employees involved, you want to approach it from that perspective. What's your employees' desired state? Where do they want to see themselves? And how can I help you get there? And how can you help the business grow so we can all get there?
Yeah, and I think that that's one of the key things, that it's an actual unified, system. You have to talk about it, especially when you have a business partner. So Scott and I, we process a lot of things, and we talk, because we talk, what, Scott, 2, 3, 4 times a day, to discuss certain things, to make sure that we're on the same page, but that we are taking things slowly, to come in and say, hey, listen, what do I need to take off your plate right now? Because I actually have a little bit more time, or vice versa. So I think that that's one of the key things, that communication is key, that you have to come in. Remember one thing. So we're not mind readers, and your employees are not mind readers. So when you're coming in and you're trying to get something done, don't try to overwhelm everything, because I think that that's where a lot of times you get a lot of pushback, because you can't come in and say, well, I'm going to do this if it doesn't make sense. And sometimes as business owners, we need to definitely be educators, moving forward. So this is where, go ahead. Did you want to share something, Scott, on this?
No, I just gotta laugh because if anyone knows you, you do all the talking and I just have to listen.
Exactly. Yeah, Karen said that yesterday. So Scott,
I do want to add, there's a good example of, how to not make too much change. And it's that TV show on Bar Rescue. You ever watch that? And they come into bars and restaurants and they totally revamp them. Talk about pushback, right? And it's TVS, right? So according to TV, most all of them are successful. I don't believe that, but it's a good example of maybe not how to approach it all at once. But sometimes you have to, perhaps.
Yeah, and I think that this is one of the key things, especially when you start processing. So Scott's an engineer, by trade, but when you come in, to his point, you have to have systems in place. So you have to document everything. And it's a step by step. It's very, very simple. Check. Was this done? Check. And was this done? Check. So we actually, years ago, I think I was 17, 18 years old. I was working at a fire sprinkler company. And the actual office manager, she had things in check, and she had Post-it notes. Before you would walk out the door, that you would look at. Did you turn off the light? Did you turn off the AC? Did you turn off the coffee maker? Did you make coffee when you were supposed to make coffee? Because she would actually add her personality, to that. And I think that that's one of the key things, that when we started looking at that, it just became easier, because sometimes we can get sidetracked because we're doing other things. So this is why it's extremely important that you have procedures in place. It's going to help you. Listen, the goal of this webinar is to make sure that each and every one of you create something that works for you, that you can come in and point it out. It's the simplification of it. So if you look at this, we actually decided, let's create 6 steps or 6 slides that focus specifically on how do you tie everything together to help the businesses. And if you look at the overall goal, is that as a business owner, you have to hold yourself accountable. And when you start bringing employees in, you have to hold yourself even more accountable, because now your company and your business is the company and business that is providing for your staff employees to provide for their families, to be able to feed their family, to be able to produce a salary to come in and live a comfortable life. So this is why it's extremely important that you have, systems and process in place. The reason why we say this is very simple. Each and every one of us had to learn the hard way that if we didn't have this, and not having this, our lives were not as effective and we're not running as smoothly as they are today. We still have hiccups. We still have things that we have to look at, but the goal is to ensure your success as business owners. Improve what needs to be improved. And if it doesn't need any improvement by way of what we're sharing today, guess what? Pat yourself in the back. Congratulations, but move forward and see everything that you have that's going to make your life easier. So listen, you guys aren't unmuting yourself as quickly as, so I figured. So Karen, okay. Anything that you want to share? I'm also being mindful of time before we get to.
Yeah, it's very important to document every system. So we use Google Drive because I run my business currently on G Suite. We're probably going to make a shift relatively soon because of government requirements. We are government contractors, so we're probably going to have to shift over to Microsoft because that's what the government is using. Teams, SharePoint, etc. is their go-to. But the point is, it doesn't matter if you've got it in OneDrive, if you've got it in Google Drive, Dropbox. You know, people are using a million different file sharing and file storage solutions, but it needs to be somewhere. Everything needs to be documented. Why? Fernando just told you he had an employee they had to let go this week or last week. I wasn't paying that close attention. I forgot when. But the point is, when somebody leaves, are you training all over again? Or do you have all the documentation that they need to get started, to be able to read, get up to speed, or watch some videos, get up to speed on the position, on the tasks, on the how things are done here, on the this is our culture, this is our mission or vision. You shouldn't have to say those things 500 times, because if you plan to own your business for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, I know people have owned businesses for 50, 60 years. How many employees are you going to have to say those things to? Document it, record it, do a video once. I have a video that welcomes all new writers to my writing business. That video will last for 10, 20 years before I need to make a new one. Doesn't matter how many writers I hire, every single writer gets the same video. Hi, I'm Karen. I own the Meta Writers. Welcome to the team. Here's what you need to know about working here. So that kind of stuff is magic. It saves you a ton of time.
Yeah, and thank you. And I don't know, Scott or Fernando, if you wanted to share anything. I want to make sure that I'm mindful of time. We've got about 9 minutes and we got one more slide that I want to go through. Scott.
Yeah, I'm not sure I have a whole lot to share, but you know, from my past in the boat business, it was instrumental for us because some business types, you don't, it's hard to find the right people for the job, right? And so sometimes you got to grab someone that's not the ideal candidate and spend more time with them. So in that setting, it's invaluable if you got that documentation down, right? Because you may have to take more time to train them, so to speak, you know, or less. So, but yeah, I fully support that. And we too have recently started spending a lot more time documenting more and more services and processes so that we too can step back, even in our own business, right? And let it run itself, so to speak, in certain aspects.
Yeah, it's a simplification of the process and so forth. So let's go ahead and just go to the next slide that Karen actually talked about this. And anything that you wanted to share, Fernando, from the previous slide and this one. We'll have one more slide. Fernando, anything that you want to share, the way that you're actually running effectively the business with your procedures?
Well, one thing I did want to share, going back to what Scott just said, that good people are not always easy to find. Even if you're not hiring right now, you should always be recruiting. You should always have some type of job posting up, right? And the way that works is basically you're always interviewing people. Even if you don't have a spot for them right now, you're 100% honest and you tell them, look, we're a growing business. We're always looking for talented people. I think that you would be a great fit for a company. I don't currently have a place for you right now, but is it okay if I save your information and reach out to you in 30 days or in 60 days? No one's ever going to tell you no. They're all going to tell you yes. And you slowly start building up a bench, a roster of players that you have on standby. And between now and the point that you need them, it's on you to just send them a text every 30 days, every 60 days, right? Because you never know if you interviewed them now and they were looking for a job now. You never know if we need them 30 or 60 days from now. Maybe they're not happy where they're presently at. And you've already gone through the interviewing process. So that'll keep you from making, from hiring people out of desperation. So just wanted to add that.
Yeah, and thank you, Fernando. Anything that anybody wants to share? I know, Karen, you said that you were actually using Google Drive. We also use Google. to actually enhance the business and what we do. And we've actually had to change certain things by way of moving forward with our business. But I think that this is one of the key things also. You have to have a one-stop shop location for everything to be gathered, and that everything is unified, because as business owners, you don't want to be all over the place. You also don't want to come in and just store things on your computer and not have something that's backing up all the information that you're actually providing, because this is where you're going to do yourself a disservice. So make sure that moving forward, whatever you do, if I work on any type of document and I'm working within Word, I automatically save it to the Google Drive so that I actually have it there because of anything. Because a lot of businesses have their computers crash and so forth. So anything that you want to share on this, Karen and Scott, before our final thoughts moving forward?
Yeah, I'll just add, you kind of touched upon it, but personally, it doesn't matter what computer I would log on in the world. I can run my business from anywhere if my machine shuts down. And I test this frequently. I run predominantly on a desktop, but I have a laptop, and I jump on that laptop all the time just to make sure if whatever that thing was I was working on yesterday, it was a new document, I saved it in the right place, etc. Because it is so much easier, and Orlando can find it. We can always, track down stuff. So I'll just encourage you, if you aren't doing it already, figure out how to get everything online, so to speak, so that you jump on a strange computer one day, you can log into all your programs and systems and be able to serve your clients, remotely.
Yeah, that's extremely important to be more efficient and for your operations to be more efficient. So improving your operations is an ongoing task. Keep improving one step at a time. Document all processes. Pay attention to handoff, what and who's being handed off, given. Remember that if you look at the actual, tracks, you always leave the last runner, the fastest runner for last. And this is where, because you have the fastest initially at the end, but you also have the first one that's also the fastest to come in and run, so they can actually, get ahead of the competition. So this is where you actually have to look at, as business owners, look at some of the things that you have to do and so forth. So any last parting words? I'm going to come in and upload or show here your questions you haven't asked. And this is our contact information. There's a poll that's on right now. As I said earlier, this is being recorded. You are going to get a copy of the actual presentation as well to your email. So any parting words that you want to share, Fernando, then Karen, and then Scott?
Yeah. So ultimately, we all want freedom. And we're business owners, but we don't want to be owned by the business. And the only way that you're going to be able to free yourself is by having these systems in place and ways of tracking them. So whether you find yourself doing everything right now, or you have a business that already has employees and systems, compare your business to a sports team where you have the owner, you have the coach, you have your team captain, and you have the players. You'll never see the owner out in the field running the plays, right? You have the coach that's coming up with the strategy. And then you have the team captain that makes sure everyone is executing on the field. So the reason I bring that up is you want to get to the point where your business is structured in a similar fashion. Where you're the owner, you have a manager that's acting as a coach, and then you have your team players that are executing on the systems and procedures.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the key things. Everybody has a role to fulfill. Karen.
Yeah, I echo what Fernando said. I have a mentor that says, build a business, not a job. And what that means is you don't want that you have to just show up and work and make a set amount of money. The sky's the limit when you're building a business. You can grow it, you can scale it. You need the right team, you need the right processes. Things have to be documented. Think about whatever job you've had. If you had a corporate job or you were in the military or anything like that, and how things were done. That's a business. And you want to structure your business. Doesn't matter if right now you're a business of one day you will be a business of many employees. and you have to have everything documented. It can't live, your business can't live here. It has to be documented. There have to be processes, the right person doing the right thing at the right time. Your clients or customers have to be able to consistently get the same product or service every time. So work on those things one thing at a time.
Yeah, thank you, Scott.
I don't know that I can add much more. I'm ready to go play baseball, Fernando. No, it's great words of wisdom. And, you know, we do the same thing, right? It's just looking for ways to be efficient, and the documenting, like Karen said, that is invaluable, either whether it's upfront or as you go. But, you know, you might think long-term too, just, you know, business succession, you know, if you're going to sell or pass it on to someone in your family, there's a lot of reasons why to have things documented, more than just, you know, growing your business now and today. I mean, not maybe the positive thing to think about, but life happens, right? So should something happen to you, you want this thing to keep going on, there's another reason why, to make sure you've got it laid out right.
Right, exactly. And one thing that I'll let everyone know, I know some of you actually, Carlos, you were asking about other webinars and so forth. We do periodically put together webinars, and you can actually go to the FIU Entrepreneurship YouTube channel, and there's quite a few webinars that we've done in the past, from doing business with the government to marketing to business mindset to you know, everything from you know, access to capital. We're actually doing an access to capital presentation on the 16th of November. But the goal is to ensure that we provide as much information to each and every one of you. And as I said earlier, you are going to receive a copy of the presentation. Our emails are there. If you want to have virtual coffee, then we're good to go, but make sure you connect with us on LinkedIn. Thank you, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day.